Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Today we are exploring a truly fascinating and highly unconventional approach to spiritual fulfillment. We're going to be looking at a 2018 text by an author named Xu Feng titled The Bridge to the Celestial Islands. Now, if you've ever felt completely overwhelmed by the sheer volume of self-improvement literature out there, or if you're just feeling burnt out by the endless pursuit of enlightenment, you're going to find this incredibly interesting. Xu Feng promises a radical, direct shortcut. He basically suggests that we can bypass all the exhausting methods of self-refinement and cross a very simple, direct bridge straight to heaven.
Okay, let's dive into this. Xu Feng writes, "The core of truth is in one sentence, while falsehoods are spread through millions of books." I mean, that perfectly sets the stage for everything we're about to discuss today. He is completely rejecting the idea that spiritual growth requires this endless, exhausting amount of reading. Instead of parsing through massive libraries of complex philosophy, he argues that the ultimate truth is actually incredibly condensed. It's singular, it's profound, and, as we'll see, it's surprisingly brief.
So, here's our roadmap for this explainer. 1. The three-word secret. 2. Faith without any doubt. 3. Love without any conditions. 4. Nature without any analysis. And finally, 5. The bridge to heaven. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the three-word secret. 18 years. That's how long Xu Feng says he spent meticulously studying, preaching, and trying to untangle the mysteries of life. We're about to look at a concept born from those intense years that claims to bypass the need to struggle, the need to relentlessly explore, or even the need to practice traditional disciplines like vegetarianism. And the result of all that massive effort? Well, he realized that the vast, boundless truth of the universe didn't actually need to be complex at all. In fact, he condensed all of that vast truth down into just 3 highly extreme concepts. And here they are. Step 1, faith. Step 2, love. Step 3, nature. According to the text, these 3 simple words are the absolute, complete antidote to a complicated life. But there is a very important catch here. You can't just casually experience them. Xu Feng argues that to reach the celestial islands, you have to exhibit these 3 concepts to the absolute extreme. So let's break down exactly what he means by taking them to the limit. Moving right along to Section 2, faith without any doubt. Xu Feng states that solving the problem of faith is the very first and absolutely most important thing a person must do in their entire life. He defines faith as a state of consciousness and mentality that has no doubts about the truth, things, or people. I really want to emphasize those 2 words for a second, no doubts. This means zero hesitation. According to the text, if you have even a sliver of doubt, your belief just doesn't count as faith. Doubting causes your mind to become clouded. The text vividly says it brings flying sand and rocks, and your life essentially just fills up with misery. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer absurd variety of what you can choose to believe in. Just consider this list for a second. The Creator, Jesus, Lao Tzu, but also atheism, tortoises, caterpillars, ghosts, and even lies. You kind of have to appreciate the incredible contrast here because it highlights Xu Feng's core point so brilliantly. He's asserting that the object of your belief doesn't actually matter. You can believe in literally anything, from Buddha and the sun all the way to caterpillars or strange conversations, as long as you firmly grasp the core action of believing. It's the purity of the belief itself that unlocks your potential, not what you're pointing it at. To really emphasize this, he compares the extreme outcomes. With pure, unwavering belief, the text claims you unlock magical powers, literally things like turning a stone to gold or even becoming a dragon. But with doubt, the consequences are disastrous. The text describes how even the chickens and dogs around you will become restless. It uses the example of a marriage. If spouses doubt each other, they become strange bedfellows who quarrel, fight, and essentially live a life of misery. And Xu Feng takes this rule of no doubt to a truly shocking extreme to prove his point. He writes that true faith means never using your own personal standards to test, judge, or examine what you believe in. The specific, rather jarring example he uses in the text is that if you firmly believe your boss is a true gentleman, you must never doubt him, even if he commits actions completely contrary to your own moral compass or even societal laws. The text uses this extreme hypothetical to really hammer home that absolute faith requires the complete abandonment of your own judgment. Which brings us to Section 3, love without any conditions. This shifts our energy entirely to describe what Xu Feng calls the most beautiful state in heaven and in the world. The text defines love as a state combining truth,
goodness, beauty, faith, sincerity, peace, and joy. He compares it beautifully to a blooming flower. When a person becomes fully filled with this specific kind of love, the text says they literally transform. They become the most radiant life in the universe. Essentially, through this love, a person becomes a Buddha, an angel, or a celestial being.
So the crucial point is how Zhuofeng completely subverts our standard expectations of what love actually is. The essence of love is selfless giving, having no self and feeling no pain. But crucially, consider what love lacks. According to the text, true love completely lacks objects, it has no desires, it has zero conditions attached. And most radically, it has absolutely no morals, no ethics, and operates entirely outside the concept of right and wrong. It is purely the essence of selfless giving, totally detached from human rules.
Because of this incredibly strict definition, Zhuofeng outlines clear signs that prove you actually have no love. If you experience psychological injury from loving someone, or if your giving comes with demands and expectations for the outside world, you don't possess true love. If you feel anger, complaining, anxiety, or fear because of your love, well, according to the text, you possess absolutely no sense of love whatsoever, and you are not love yourself. True love in this framework can absolutely never cause you pain.
Let's look at Section 4, Nature Without Any Analysis.
This is our final grounding pillar, focusing heavily on the primal reality of our existence. Zhuofeng defines nature as a primitive magnetic field formed by the structure of things. It's the raw, innate features of things. It's entirely innate, something we're just born with, famously described by Zhuofeng in the text as being tathagata, a Buddhist term that often points to the ultimate, unconditioned nature of reality. And this brilliantly illustrates how impartial this concept of nature really is. Just like his concept of faith, nature encompasses all innate extremes equally. On the divine side, nature is Buddha. It is a celestial being, an angel, and truth. But on the dark side, nature is equally the devil, a monster, a demon, or spirits. It isn't inherently good or bad in a human moral sense. It is simply the innate, raw reality of what something is.
So, how do we actually apply this? The text instructs that to follow your nature means to be one with the Tao. To do this, you must stop analyzing. You literally have to stop relying on your own cognition, and you certainly shouldn't sit around weighing the pros and cons of your actions. You are supposed to stop judging entirely and simply live out your innate tathagata nature without overthinking it. Just let your primitive magnetic field guide you naturally. Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 5, the bridge to heaven.
So let's bring all three pillars together into our final architectural metaphor to summarize the core takeaway of Zhuofeng's 2018 text. We have our three extreme pillars, and now we assemble the structure. The world's vast, voluminous scriptures, the absolute mountains of books on self-improvement, wisdom, and spiritual refinement, they can all be entirely replaced by mastering these three radical definitions: faith without doubt, love without conditions, and nature without analysis. These three words, lived to the absolute maximum, form the direct bridge to the celestial islands.
Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought to conclude our explainer today. We've seen how intense and extreme these definitions really are. True faith means abandoning your own standards of judgment. True love means abandoning morals and ethics. True nature means abandoning all analysis and cognitive weighing of pros and cons. The text promises a direct path to heaven if you can do this. So, the big question is, can you? Are you ready to abandon doubt, morals, and analysis to finally cross the bridge? Thank you so much for joining me on this fascinating journey through the text today. And keep questioning, keep learning.